Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have a confession from our sister Betty, who shares with us her life story. She tells us about the sacrifices that has been made in her life by the love of her life due to their conditions of life. But before we go into what we have for this episode, I would love to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for your support, your comments and likes. Please do share our videos so that others can benefit from hearing some of these stories in order for them to also learn from some of these confessions. Thank you, and let's get into what we have for today. As part of our policy, I've made some editing to hide the identity of the person who sent the message. Please kindly subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. Without wasting much of your time, let's go and listen to the story.
Please brother, don't put my name out there. I would want you to treat the letter as an anonymous. Thank you. This story is my own life story that I wish to share with you. And sometimes when I look back, I ask myself, why did I have to go through some of the things that I went through at those early ages of my life? I come from a very small village in one of the Sakia districts in the Ashanti region of Ghana. And in our village, the main occupation there is farming. So, as a young girl growing up, all I knew was farming. I would go to school, but, as soon as the school closes, I will go to the farm with my grandmother. That was the only thing I knew growing up. When it was the day for market in our area, I and my grandmother will go to the farm and gather some crops and foodstuff to come and sell in the market. So, that we can use the money we will get to also pay or buy other things that we needed. One day, one of my aunties came to visit us and she told my grandmother that she would love for me to come and stay with him in the capital city. She said that she will see me through school and I will also help her with her shop. Because she was not always around to attend to people when they come to buy her things. This seemed good to me. But at first, I didn't want to go and leave my grandmother all alone in the village. But she insisted I go and get a better education in the city. She called me one evening and told me that it was for a good reason that she wants me to go to the city and live with my auntie. So that I can have a better education there, and when I have age and have gotten a good work, I can come and take a very good care of her before she dies. This is what eventually made me to leave my grandmother in the village. My grandmother is the only true family member that I have known all my life since the death of my parents in a car accident. My parents had gone to a friend's funeral, and when they were returning that evening, the car they were coming with was involved in a serious accident. The accident took all the lives of the people who were in the car. That was how I lost my parents, and my grandmother took me in, and has been my mother, father, a friend and my everything. So, leaving her was very hard for me. But because of her words, I wanted to go and learn and return to make her smile before she passes away. I came to the city with my auntie and started a new life in the city. She had a restaurant in the busy area of the city. So I was helping her together with two other girls. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and she had not said anything about my school. The main reason why I agreed to come to the city in the first place. I asked her about the school one evening and she told me that I should exercise patience because she was still searching for a good school for me. She didn't want to just put me into any school where it will not help me. At first, I believed her. But when I realized she only wanted me to always be at her restaurant instead of any other thing that she promised my grandmother that she would be doing for me. This went on for a while and something started to happen in the restaurant that made me take a decision to run for my life. I didn't realize that the other two girls were all in it before I got there. My auntie called me one evening and told me that, from the following week that was ahead of us, I was going to do other things that was going to fetch us money. And it was through that money that she was going to see me through school. I didn't know that she was going to give me out to men to sleep with me so that they will pay her money. This was also the other side of work that the other two girls were doing for her. That day when we had closed for the day, it was around 9 p.m. when my auntie told me to go with one of the customers who had finished eating and was still sitting at the restaurant. I never knew I was the reason why she was still there. No knowing he had already paid for my service to my auntie, so he was just waiting for me to finish what I was doing there and carry me go home and have his way with me. So, no knowing what I was going to do there, I went with the man in his car to this hotel. When we got there, I asked him why we were there. And he told me that, when we get inside, I will know why we were there. When we got inside the hotel room, he asked me to go and take a bath. Which I did. I didn't know what was waiting for me. In the shower, the man also joined in the shower and I questioned him why he was in the shower whilst I was naked. He told me that I was there to render a service he has already paid for. And that I was to sleep with him. I told him I am not that kind of person. He laughed and told me that all the girls working for my auntie, that is what they do. And so, I am the new one amongst them. It dawned on me what my auntie had really brought me into the city to do. I pleaded with the man to let me go because I don't know anything about what he was talking about. But he wouldn't have any of the things I was saying. He forced me and had his way with me. This was my first time of any man penetrating me. And it pained me so much that I was begging for him to stop, but he wouldn't have any of it. The bedsheet on the bed was soaked with blood as a result of his actions with me. After finishing with me, he asked to wait so he can go and drop me. I didn't want to have anything to do with him. I walked out of the room in pains after I had cleaned myself. I didn't know where I was going. At this time, it was getting to about 12 a.m. that I left the place. On my way, not knowing where I was going, I met this young man who asked what was wrong with me. He offered to help me and took me to where he was staying. He said it wasn't safe for me to be walking in that area all alone that time. This guy, when I was in his place, made me a warm water to use for my private part. After which he gave me some painkiller and told me to rest till the next morning so he would know how to locate my place. In the next morning, I realized how handsome the guy is. Even though I wasn't of myself, I still was able to notice how handsome he is. He had only a mattress in his small room and a plastic chair with this old TV set, and the things he uses to cook. That was all. He came in the room and gave me some porridge that he had bought from outside together with bread. I asked about his name and he told me he is called Michael. After eating the food, he told me I should let him take me to where I live. I told him about the market where my auntie sells the food and he took me to the place. When my auntie saw me, she didn't seem to be worried about where I have been the whole night. When Michael realized I was safe, he told me he was going and would come and check on me later. Later that evening, my auntie now came and asked me to get ready for I will be going home with another man. That was when I told her of what happened to me. And for that reason, I am not going with anyone. She told me that it was normal and I would get used to it. She called one of the girls and told her to get ready for she will be going with the man instead of me. It was getting to about 3 weeks and I had refused to go with anyone that comes. And my auntie got angry. She told me that if that was how I was going to behave, then I wouldn't stay in her house again. She told me to find my own means of shelter and food. That night, she threw me out of her house without me having anywhere to go. I roamed about that evening and not knowing where I was going, I decided to go and see if I can really locate Michael's place. I couldn't really get the location to his place, so I slept in front of a shop. The next morning, I started asking about him with description of him. I met someone who happened to know him and helped me locate where Michael was. When he saw me, he was happy. And asked why I was there and not at the restaurant helping my auntie. I told him all that had happened and the reason why she sacked me from her house. He asked me where my belongings are. But then, everything that I had was in a small polythene bag that I was holding. He told me I can stay with him for the time, until I can find another work to do. My stay with Michael was when I got to know the kind of work that fine guy was doing. Michael was a head porter. He helped people carry their loads when they come to the market, and by so doing, he earned something from it. He had this friend Richard who was also into that same work. Weeks went by and I was still living in Michael's place. Gradually, we started to develop feelings for each other. This feeling became strong that he couldn't help it but told me how he felt for me. That was how our love life started. We were Mr. and Mrs. even though we were not married, but we loved each other and had vowed to love ourselves to the end. Michael will always tell me how he will make sure I enjoy the goodness of life. He got me a job in a supermarket as shop attendant. And so, life was going on for us. We started to save. Little by little, we had gotten some money and I told him to buy a used car and use that to carry passengers. In that way, the earning will be much bigger than what he was. Michael got the car and started as a commercial driver. He got his licensed and legal documents that will allow him to work in peace. One day, he told me that we needed to go and visit my grandmother. This made me happy. So, when the day came, we went to my village and my grandmother was very happy to see me. Even though she had aged a lot, she still was working on her farm. We got to the house to meet her absence. So I told Michael about the fact that she would be in her farm. Michael said we should go to the farm and meet her. That was where we met my grandmother. We came home and it was a very touching moment for me. I decided to tell her everything that my auntie had done to me. And this brought tears to my grandmother's eyes. But after everything, she blessed Michael and told him that, from that time, she is my mother and father at the same time. So he should take good care of me so that I will in turn come and take good care of her. We came back to the city. And when we were almost at our gate, Michael saw someone that he said he knew him. That was when everything changed for my Michael.
Please kindly subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload. Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. I hope we've all learned something important from the story. In our quest to make it in life, we should always fight the temptation of having to do some immoral acts in order to make it. It might sound good and easy way to make money, but please, we should know that there is always cause and effect in this life. Whatever you sow today, you shall always reap tomorrow. Let's be mindful of the choices that we make, because it can either make or unmake us in a long run. Thank you and kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share. Thank you for listening to this episode. Watch out for the continuation of this story in our next episode. You can also watch other interesting and intriguing confessions we have on the channel.